E equals Y, business acumen, awareness of how the business operates. Great E3 leaders are strategic in thinking and have a strong business acumen. They're aware of everything that's happening around them. Stepping into leadership requires you to lift your head, stand up, and look past a traditional narrow view of focus and understand the context of the rest of the company, industry, and world. For example, who owns the company? Is it privately held, corporation, PE-backed, venture capital? Who's the CEO and other top executives? If one of them walked into your office tomorrow, would you know their name? Would you recognize them? Who are your customers? What's the problems you solve for them? What is going on in the news? How does this impact your company? How does your role fit in? And how can you help? Core to business acumen is curiosity. There are 4 core elements of skills or capabilities when discussing business acumen. First, awareness. Being curious and understanding who's who. What are the business strategies? What's the overall market? The financial elements of the company, and how does the company operate? Second, it's about becoming analytical and becoming proficient in research, being able to collect and analyze information, doing root cause analysis. It's not enough to say there is a problem, but understanding what the real problem actually is. Then correlating between and connecting the dots between different data points, gaining diverse perspectives, reviewing the problem from multiple points of view, and the ability to decipher what information is relevant. Next, it's about being a strategic thinker, which means you should take time to reflect, be curious and ask a lot of questions, understand the various alternatives, analyze the potential solutions and impact of each, understanding the vulnerabilities and threats, seeking feedback to validate your thoughts and findings, and ensure you're leveraging diversity in your thinking, experiences, and engagement. Lastly, it's about honing your financial aptitude skills. It's the ability to read financial statements like the P&L statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow. Also understanding basic accounting principles. For example, bookings versus revenue, cost of goods sold, EBITDA. You want to make sure you can leverage data and metrics, whether it's lead versus lag indicators, trends, comparisons, to help you analyze and make decisions. Why is all of this important? We live in a world of constant change. Things are moving at the speed of light. If you wait until something solidifies, it will be on to the next things and you will be behind. We need to act with speed and agility. That means we do not always have the time to ask for permission. We have to assess the situation quickly. We need to understand the ultimate objectives and make the best possible decision. The more information that we have, the better prepared we are in making that quick decision. You've often heard the phrase, ask for forgiveness afterwards. When acting with awareness, analysis, strategic thinking, and a financial mindset, it establishes a sound business case for your decisions, and you will most often make the right decision and not need forgiveness. It is when you act rashly without understanding knowledge or logic that you result in a poor decision. Lastly, strong business acumen allows you to shift from taking orders or delivering tasks or following a checklist to delivering results that align to outcomes. This is the shift from a command and control style of management to an empowering style of leadership. The military is an interesting case study of this mindset shift in leadership. The military used to be known for its command and control style with a strong sense of hierarchy and decision-making. No action would be taken without the chain of command signing off. As warfare changed, the speed at which decisions had to be made the type of leadership fraught with issues. By the time the highest rank official signed off on a decision, an entire platoon could be dead. Instead, there was a shift in leadership that focused on providing the purpose, mission, and ideal outcome to the teams, along with appropriate training of the business acumen skills we discussed earlier to help them solve problems and make decisions quickly. Business acumen is the precursor into the E3 methodology that focuses on execution and implementation. The E3 framework, express plus engage plus execute, powered by the E3 emotional toolkit, is best suited to influence change and deliver results by leaders that have a strong acumen and use it at all times. Let's apply what we just talked about to each of these areas. Express. This is about focusing on the desired outcome, not the tasks on how to get there. But what does success really look like? Why is it important? With that context, it allows people to engage and think about the quickest way to get there, along with any possible alternatives. When you're trying to engage others, you want to focus on communication and influence skills and making sure those people that need to engage do and take action. So it's about reiterating the why for motivation, providing the context and situational awareness to help make quick decisions, providing feedback to course correct, and respecting all of the cognitive diversities. Next, when you get into execution, with business acumen, it will help you make decisions to be able to look at the impact and where it's going to add value. Perhaps it's about making priority or trade-off decisions, really thinking proactively versus reactively. It helps you solve complex problems, getting to the root cause, proposing solutions, preparing that return on investment. It's also about measuring progress. You're looking at those leading and lagging indicators to ensure that you are making progress. Every company has a series of business plans to help guide the organization. They'll typically be shared at different levels and in different forums. It's each individual's responsibility to be aware of these items and do their best to align. Some organizations are better than others at sharing, but at a minimum, there would be a strategy that's shared with your team. As a leader, it's your opportunity to ask the questions on how it all relates to the bigger picture and how you as a team can help drive success. This is the first element of business acumen, having the awareness. So you may look or hear around business models, an M&A strategy, 3-year plans, interlocks across functions, a budget versus forecast versus the annual plan. You have a go-to-market strategy, you'll have a channel strategy, and then you will have processes for reviewing all this and following up. Now let's put ourselves in the seat of an executive and start with the very basics of running a company. I often have people ask me, how do I put a proposal together? Or I am looking for someone to take action. I always come back to these 4 fundamental elements that you should provide context in or helping to drive change. One may be revenue. How does this help drive more revenue for the company? Or it could be about costs. How do I help reduce costs? How do I keep them in check? Or if we spend more, we can then have more revenue. At the same time, CEO is trying to figure out how this will all be funded, through the cash flow, and also trying to manage all risks. So one of these 4 elements, at a minimum, should be in any proposals that you're putting forth for solving problems. Now, you can also drill down and think of things in a slightly different way. You can put it in the context of people, customers, product, and sales. So if we take customer, for example, and drill down a little bit more, you want to know your business. Who is your target audience? Is it an executive? Is it an individual? Who's buying your product? and what are they actually buying? Because you want to know what they're going to buy and why they're buying it, because then you can position everything to make sure that you're delivering what it is they want and helping them solve the problem they have. You also want to understand how your product is priced. So I'm going to use the example of software here. There's a lot of different revenue models. There's a traditional software license model, which was a perpetual license fee with ongoing maintenance and support revenue. That's been changing lately, and there's a lot more subscription-based models, or also known as recurring revenue models, which are predetermined monthly fees that covers both the usage of software plus support. You may have professional services revenue. That's either fixed price or time and materials. Perhaps there's pay per use or freemium models. These are all different ways that your software can be priced and provided, and it may be delivered to your customers in different ways, whether it's hosted on-prem, SaaS, etc. As a leader, these are basics that you should know, because in some shape or form, whatever role you're playing, you need to understand this so that you can help participate. Also think about the different functions. You want to understand the various roles within an organization. To accomplish the mission vision of a company, no one team can do it alone. It takes multiple functions to be aligned, and each accomplishing their tasks and collaborating with others to drive the outcomes. So let's first think logically about what the elements are needed to run most businesses. Each industry may have variations, but typically these are the basics. You need to plan, build, bring the product to market, be able to deliver it, and then administer the functions of the organization. So planning, you need to understand your customer, you need to understand the competition and design a product for their problems. But then you need to build it, right? You have a development team to build your product. You'll need to test it and package it. At the same time, how are you going to bring it to market? How will you establish brand awareness and drive marketing? How will you generate leads? How will you get the technical sale and the business sale? Once you get that sale, then how do you deliver it to the customer? How will you support it if the customers have problems? How will it be supported? And how will you ensure the customers are successful so that they continue to buy more and be a reference? And then bottom line, you have to support all of this, administrate it. And that's where the finance, IT, HR, legal, there's a number of functions to support the business as well. Two of the capabilities of business acumen we talked about were analytical skills and strategic thinking. And they are key for solving problems and striving for continuous improvement. As a leader, you should be continuously thinking about how you can support the business from the revenue, costs, cash flow, risks, and operations. As a leader, before you can drive the change, you need to be able to identify and define the problem, determining what the root cause is. Next, you can determine possible solutions, evaluate those options, and choose the best solution. There are different techniques and tools like Kaizen, Six Sigma, and Lean for continuous improvement. Core to any of these is finding the root cause. And that's why the 5 whys is so powerful. You can continuously ask why until you get to the root cause. Let me give you an example. You have a vehicle that will not stop. The first why is this happening? Well, the battery's dead. Well, you ask again, well, why is the battery dead? Well, the alternator's not functioning. Okay, the third why, well, why is the alternator not functioning? Well, the alternator belt is broken. Okay, but why is the alternator belt broken? Well, it was well beyond its useful service life and not replaced. Well, why wasn't it replaced? Well, the vehicle was not maintained according to the recommended service schedule. So the root cause is the vehicle was not serviced. So now we need to go and look at what can we do to improve the service schedule and making sure these things can be fixed in the first place. Data is then critical to solving all of these problems. It helps influence the change and drive results. Data allows us to tell a more factual story and influence change. Allows us to identify problems. We can leverage trends or look for anomalies. It will empower informed decisions because data equals knowledge, and it provides the justification and evidence that's needed to really back up arguments. And then it ensures execution because you've established the baselines and benchmarks. You've defined the goals to set the course to go forward, and you measure those results to determine if you need to course correct it all. As a leader, you also want to understand the first level of data at your disposal. And that's really the basics of a P&L statement, which is revenue minus cost of goods sold minus SG&A equals EBITDA. So let's start with revenue. It's about what did you book? How much professional services have you utilized? How much training? What is the revenue that you can recognize? Then for every dollar of revenue you've recognized, what was the cost to bring that to the customer? And those are people costs to develop the product. It may be service contracts to be able to build the product or test, maybe travel associated with building the products. That's your cost of goods sold. And some will talk about the gross margin. You want to have a higher gross margin because that means that you have more revenue and lower cost of goods sold, which means a greater gross margin. Then you subtract your sales, marketing, and back office expense, often referred to as SG&A, which is sales, general, and administrative costs, which brings you then to the EBITDA. EBITDA is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Some will say profit, but basically your net profit is after all of those elements. Now, once you know what's happening, you want to look at the results and be able to analyze them to understand if you're trending positively or negatively. As a leader, you want to continuously be asking, what can I do to support new revenue growth? Or how do I improve our gross margins? Or how do I improve our profitability? So if you look at financial metrics, they'll tell you the overall health of the business. So for example, if you look at the revenue, our actuals for Q2 were $21.8 million. Well, that was down compared to our budget. We thought we would be at 22.3 million. However, compared to last quarter, we're actually up. So although we didn't hit our budget, we are up. And so now we want to dig into the next levels to understand what's happening. Are we, going in the right direction, but just not fast enough? Did something not happen? Was there an obstacle? So it's all about drilling into the next level of details to drive results. And that's where dashboards become very powerful. Dashboards provide the benchmark of where you currently are, along with the goals of where you want to get to and by when. Next, you're able to track the progress to see if you're doing well at different periods of time. A review at the dashboard like this would allow us to hone in on where we are not meeting the mark, looking at the red indicators, and then drill down. Are there obstacles? What help is needed? What course corrections can we take? As a leader, we are continuously tracking and measuring progress to ensure that we're meeting our expressed goals. We're keeping our teams engaged and executing against the plan. At the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to have a high-performing team, a team that is all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction towards a common goal to deliver success. A high-performing team has the common direction, that high degree of cognitive diversity, collaborative, accountable, can highlight the strengths and overcome weaknesses. When you have this team in place, you'll have greater agility to get to the goal quicker. You'll double your team's strengths, have more fun, drive personal and professional growth, and really be prepared to weather any storm. All leaders understand this. They're the first ones in the boat, and they focus on inspiring and enabling the rest of their team. So the call to action today is to stand up, look around, get curious, be aware, hone your skills, start building your business acumen today. Thank you.